Welcome to The Conversation. I'm Benjamin Dixon, host of The Benjamin Dixon Show. Joining us today is Rafael Casal and Benjamin Earl Turner. They're both writers, producers. Rafael is a showrunner for the newly premiered show Blind Spotting, and Benjamin Earl Turner plays the role of Earl in Blind Spotting. Gentlemen, thank you so much for joining us today. How are you?
Thanks for having us, man. We're great.
Awesome.
Yeah. For having us.
I want the audience to kind of get to know a little bit about it. It just premiered this past Sunday, so congratulations on that. I've had a chance to see portions of it, and we have a preview of it actually that we want to show the audience so that they can kind of get a mindset of what this show is about. Let's take a look at it.
What happened?
Baby, I'm so sorry.
Found him flushing these.
Do you want me to get you a toothbrush or toiletries or
I'm
anything?
going to summer camp, baby. I'm going to jail.
I don't know. What is our online banking password?
Baby, I'm not going to yell that on the street.
Happy New Year.
Look, I called my mom. She said you and Sean can move over there with her and Trish.
Hello? Where are you staying? I'm gonna figure it out. I can't survive too many days with your sister.
I just bought a new grill.
Hey, girls.
Sounded like a new
Hi.
Adam got a new
Why are you so naked all the time?
Wearing pants in the house is stupid, okay? I feel liberated. Okay? I want to feel free at home.
Well, how you feel at work then?
Expensive.
killing my vibe.
I did everything.
Oh my God!
I kicked my mom.
Pleading guilty is terrible legal advice.
You gotta say you're sorry.
Don't admit to nothing, kid.
You a 32-year-old baby daddy in jail who almost got her pockets rent until I put you on my credits. Yeah, you real grown, Ash.
I'm just taking a look. It's an interesting show, and I'm still stuck on your opening line. Like you're like, I'm not going to camp. I'm going to jail. Tell us about the show.
Yeah, I mean, the show is like extending the universe of a film that me and my main collaborator David Diggs did in 2017 of the same name, and it really picks off Jasmine Cephas-Jones' character Ashley Rose, and sort of sets her off on her own story, and it begins on New Year's Eve on 2018. When she comes home to find her partner of 12 years, Miles, and the father of their son, Sean, getting dragged off to jail. We don't quite know why. And it sort of means that she has to go and move in with his family in the community that she grew up in, and sort her life out as a temporarily single mom, navigating what it is to be on the outside when someone that you love is being incarcerated. And then we introduce this whole new cast of characters that surround her life. And Ben Turner here plays Earl, one of those leading characters.
Yeah, Ben, tell us about the character Earl.
Yeah, Earl is sort of he's the representation really of the carceral state after somebody leaves it. I think a lot of times we think of prison as sort of the moment of being incarcerated and then the moment you walk out, and oftentimes we see it depicted that way. We'll see the guy in front of the prison, they catch the cab or the old friend comes to get them. But the reality is there's all these extending circumstances. And so Earl is starting his year of house arrest after having been incarcerated for a year. And a lot of the meditation of that character is trying to figure out what it looks like for someone to be wearing the trauma of a year-long sentence for something that ultimately is no longer illegal, right? That they've gone to jail for a weed charge that no longer they would be charged by based on current laws and standards. And so Earl is trying to navigate all of this in a new space and in a lot of ways avoid the recidivism rates that plague folks who end up going to jail.
Rafael, I want to ask you about the substance of the show, because even in just hearing you discuss it, both of you discuss it just now, there's also a seriousness, a heaviness to the show, commentary about the carceral state, commentary about the prison industrial complex. Tell me about some of the messages that you're hoping people can get and receive from the show.
I don't know that we invest too much time in trying to sort of feed people their vegetables through a TV show that is ultimately like it's a comedy, right? It is like a half-hour sitcom. But I think what we established with the film, which we continue to sort of do with the show, is to not ignore the circumstances of the world that the show is taking place in, right? And the reality is that in a country that has the highest incarceration rate in the world and the biggest sort of population of incarcerated people, that is just like a factor of life. It is something that if there's, 2.1 million people incarcerated, how many other people is that affecting just by that being our sons and daughters and fathers and, and family members and community members. And so I think we just are dropping into a world that doesn't pretend like that's not happening. And so it has an inherent reaction to an existing parameter that all Americans live under.
It's a reflection of the reality. Ben, speaking to that exact point, I'm curious as to your character and as you started to convey some of these circumstances that exist even after your experience in the carceral state. What were some of the things that were either surprising to you or caused you to pause and reflect in terms of the character and the challenges that character was facing, whether it's something that it mirrored real life or something that you may have heard of?
Yeah, I think the big thing that the character forced me to do was look at how difficult it is to maintain humanity once someone has gone into the prison industrial complex. When you come out the other side and throughout the whole process, the process sort of, in order to work, one of the things it demands is stripping a person of their humanity. And so I think what was difficult was trying to not just maintain that humanity, but make a point that the humanity is part and parcel of every person who goes through that process, who has to go to prison. So often, I think when we see folks who are formerly incarcerated on screen, they play a very particular sort of stereotype or trope, and we lose a lot of the humanity that they inherently have. So what was challenging for me was to maintain it, was to say, okay, here's a Black character who we assume might operate in a certain way, but really, how can I expand the vision of this character so that they actually are full and encompassing the reality of a person and not sort of this empty bin that is on display in order to sort of communicate a point or to make a joke or anything like that.
Some of the challenges that you all faced during this filming was from the pandemic. How did you guys work around that, and how did that impact the release?
I think less of a workaround and more just had to work through it. I mean, we were given the opportunity to make the show, really just during the dates that the pandemic was at its worst. And so I think we had to sort of take into account all the parameters and adjust the show accordingly. Things like, you can't have more than 4 people in a car without the doors open. You can't, or really at 4, you can't close the doors. We can't have more than 5 people in a room without proper ventilation and like removable walls. Somebody coughs or sneezes on set in any way that feels as though it could be symptomatic, which really is any cough or sneeze. You have to break for an hour. We're in shields and masks, and we're being swabbed and prodded every day. And you're constantly aware that everyone a part of the production is risking their lives and their lives and their health and their family's health that they're going home to every day just to be on the show. And you also can't do big like community scenes like you want to. You can't just be like, everybody pull up on Friday, we're gonna do the big like farmers market scene. Can't do that just for like, and we're all learning this too, because Ben and we're new to television. This is something we're just figuring out. The permitting and the insurance and all these things that it takes to do a big production in this way means that there are all these constraints, especially when there's health concerns. So I think we really had to, pare down the show in a lot of ways to make it manageable for the assignment. And then I think the hope here is that we'll get into the opportunity to do a second season in a very different climate, and we'll get to sort of expand the world accordingly. But this had to stay really small and really contained in order for it to be possible.
With the few minutes that we have left, I would be interested in you sharing with the audience what is the one thing that you hope that they take away from watching this series? Actually, both of you, Raphael and Ben, I would love to hear that.
Yeah, I know for me, the number one thing with any piece of work that I think we've worked on is I hope that people want more, a ravenous desire to see a season 2 and a season 3 and to stay with these characters. And I think that's the answer, because whatever people get from it, the art part, that's up to them. And I want to make sure that stays up to the people who are watching. And so that's kind of my hope for the show.
I think I think we're trying to push the envelope of what television has been traditionally thought of as. I think the conventions that we're activating in this show, this poetic verse towards the camera, this idea that the dancers in the movement are front and center as opposed to sort of like propped behind the leads, but are very much like characters in themselves, are just things that like we just haven't really seen much on television. And so I think I'm excited for people to start to think of the medium of television as much broader and with much more sort of possibility and scope. And so I would love to see that enthusiasm into a season 2B because we're shifting and messing with the format a bit in a way that people love.
The name of the show is Blind Spotting. It just premiered this past Sunday, and we are here with Rafael Casal and Benjamin Earl Turner. Thank you so much for joining us, man.
Thank you.
And thank you.
Thanks for watching The Young Turks. Really appreciate it. Another way to show support is through YouTube memberships. You'll get to interact with us more. There's live chat emojis, badges. You've got emojis of me, Anna, John, JR. So those are super fun. But you also get playback of our exclusive member-only shows and specials right after they air. So all of that, all you gotta do is click that join button right underneath the video. Thank you.